Hi, my name is Laura Regal, and I am doing a recovery update. So I did my first video about 4 years ago, I believe, in 2018. So we're coming up on like 5 years. So I was just kind of gonna give an update on what I have been doing since the last video. I've had a lot of people ask me what I've been doing and encouraging me to do an update. So I was excited when Shane reached out to me to kind of do that. I thought it was neat, be something different, and that's kind of what we do, right? Like we get into recovery and then it's to help other people. So I thought that this would be a good opportunity to do that. So since the last video, I talked at the end of my video about getting enrolled in college. I hadn't started yet, so it's kind of neat being on this end of it because since then I started college. I graduated in December last year with my bachelor's in social work. And then 2 weeks later, I started my grad program. So I'm currently in an accelerated master's program for social work. So I'm doing that. But kind of backing up a little bit. So I have been working in the treatment field. I started with my CDCA, got my first CDCA, got my CDCA 2, and was leading group therapy at a behavioral health hospital, just working with adults in outpatient under a social worker. So I've been doing that consistently. I've been at the same place for almost 6 years now. So since the last video, I am still at the same place. That's like a big thing in my life is just consistency and goals. So just working on continuously putting one foot in front of the other and working towards each one of those goals that I'm setting. So when I got my CDCA, I wanted to go back to school to get my license in social work so I could be a therapist. I've known since I got into recovery that was something that I was passionate about, was just helping other people, and how could I do that? I knew like I could get into being a sponsor or something like that, but that wasn't really, like I wanted to make a career out of this. I wanted to do this and reach as many people as I could, and I mean, why not get paid for something you love to do, right? I feel like that's the goal when you're looking at a career and trying to figure out what you want to do for a living, is it makes it less daunting when you can do something that you love to do. So, so I went to college, and that was tough. I feel like I went to college, tried to when I was in active addiction. Obviously, that failed. That didn't work. But being an adult and going back to college was so much different because I'm a single mom, so I still had responsibilities at the house to take care of. Still had my daughter. I still had to work full-time, and then I was a full-time student. I did everything online. That was the only way I was able to make that work. And I would be lying if I said like it was easy, right? It was not easy. It was very challenging. Personally, it was challenging, I think, for my recovery, just because I had less time for myself at that point, which that was difficult. You know, I had to work on, again, getting a routine and staying consistent with that in order to get through that. So I worked through my bachelor program, graduated with honors in December, like I said before. But I knew I wanted to go back, but I didn't want to wait. I was petrified if I stopped and got a break that I was not going to go back. So I graduated 2 weeks later, got into this grad program, which I'm currently in. I was actually at my internship before I came here this morning. So my schedule is beyond busy. It's beyond packed. But I don't mind it. It's still positive. It's still going in the right direction. It's still going really well. I think that it's important for people to know that, like, just because you get into recovery doesn't mean that everything is cupcakes and rainbows, right? It's not always going to be a good day. But you don't have to use at the end of each bad day or during a bad day. Like, you don't allow yourself to get stuck there. My life in recovery is more about building a life that I don't have to escape from today. Like, I don't have to numb myself to the things that are going on in my life or my world. I don't have to escape this life that I've built for myself. I think that that's one of the biggest things when it comes to recovery, is just like working on building a life that you don't have to escape, that you want to be present for, that you want to be there for. So I am just working on being the best mom that I can be, while reaching as many people as I possibly can, and just putting, it's so cliche and I still use it almost 10 years later, but like literally one foot in front of the other and taking it a day at a time. Like, I still live by that. So I will have 10 years in recovery next year in March, which I never in a million years thought that I would say. I remember being in treatment very, very fresh, within a couple of months in recovery, and thinking like 10 years, there's no way that I'm going to make it to 10 years, right? I haven't made it yet, but that's the goal, right? But like, even that I hit 9 years, and I remember when I hit the point where I had been in recovery longer than I was in active addiction, and that was like a really good point for me. That's when I was like, like, I can do this. Like, I'm doing this. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm living, not just existing anymore. So that was good. But I have a lot of people ask me, like, okay, like, you're in your grad program. I've been go my entire recovery. I don't have a lot of downtime. Downtime for me, everybody's recovery looks different. Downtime for me is not good. I have downtime, I get bored, and I would imagine, I haven't let myself get to that point, but I would start seeking things that excite me, right? That's what my active addiction was all about, is like I sought out more all the time. So now I seek out more as far as a productive path, right? So I continuously educate myself. I have steps that I'm going to be taking after I graduate, so I've already got those goals kind of put in place. My life of recovery is 100% goal driven at this point. I feel like every time I am able to set a goal, I break that down into smaller pieces, and then I work towards that. When I get closer to completing that goal and I know where I'm going, I start thinking about, okay, what's next? What am I going to do next? And that's like a big thing that people ask me, because I'm always on the go, but I graduate in April next year, and I don't know if I'm going to go back to school. I've kind of tossed up the idea of getting a doctorate in forensic psychology. I think that would be fun. I think that would be an interesting job. Not something I've completely sold myself on. Definitely would like to get trained in EMDR, especially since they're finding that EMDR actually works with addicts and alcoholics as well. So I thought that was interesting. But as far as present now, I'm just working on getting through this program, taking care of my daughter, and setting the best example that I can for her. That's like a big piece for me. I'm a single parent, so like it's me. I don't have anybody else. I don't have, she doesn't have another parent that she can kind of lean on. So I feel like it is mainly me. Sorry, there's like a fly. But that's what recovery is about, right? Just adapting. So it's just about setting a good example for her. At the end of the day, like, I am trying to be the best role model that I can be, despite what my past looked like. I still try to, it's not that I hide it from my daughter. I teach her what is age appropriate, right? So, like, she's 7. I don't tell her about my past or anything like that. I don't feel like she's at the age where she needs to know all of those gruesome details, but she knows that at one point, mommy made bad decisions. Mommy did not live right, per se, and that now I help others make better choices. So that's kind of like how I have explained it to her. So it works. It works for us. But I just am working on setting a good example for her. You know, I think that it's important to kind of break that family history. I have a family history of alcoholism and substance abuse. So just kind of stopping it there, and just hoping that I do the best job at educating my daughter to where she doesn't have to walk in the same footsteps as her mom and as her dad currently. So I think that that's important. But as far as like today, I mean, I'm doing well. I think that I'm in a good place with my recovery. I'm in a good place as a student and as a mom. I wouldn't change anything. I get that a lot. People ask me, like, well, if you could go back, like, would you change it? No, I don't think I would. Because my active addiction is what's made me the person that I am today. Although it was not very pretty, I'm sure, for a lot of people to see. It's helped kind of shape me into the individual that I am today, which I myself am proud of. I know that my mom's proud of me. She tells me that. My daughter, I would imagine, likes this version better than the version she would have had. So, yeah, I think it's good. I would not change anything. If there was any advice that I could give to people who are in recovery, because I feel like my last video was kind of geared towards more of like active addiction and getting through that part. So if there's any advice for people that are newly in recovery, is continuously put one foot in front of the other. I think that's so cliche to say, but it's true. Take it in small pieces and work towards goals. Set goals for yourself. It gives you things to look forward to. It gives you a sense of accomplishment when you get there. Yeah, and it makes you feel good when you're able to work through those different things and you're able to accomplish those goals, and you start seeing all of those things pay off. Like, it feels really, really good. And also, be your biggest fan. I think that that's like one thing that I've learned in long-term recovery. I mean, it's not early because I'm like coming up on 10 years next year. So, but that's one thing, is like, just be your biggest fan, be your own cheerleader. When you get farther in recovery, it's like things just seem like they're repetitive, right? Like, you get wrapped up in being an adult and paying bills and working and all of those things. So it's like you don't have people that are patting you on the back like, you hit 30 days, right? Like, I personally don't have that. I know people are proud of me, but it's like, I don't have somebody that like encourages me every little milestone that I hit in long-term recovery. But not that that's a bad thing, because that's kind of where I've learned to like lean on myself, right? Because at the end of the day, sometimes that's all we have, you know? Like, sometimes at the end of the day, all we have is ourselves. So I think that when you're in early recovery and they keep preaching to you about working on yourself and working on all of those different things, it prepares you for long-term recovery when, like, at the end of the day, that's all you're left with is you, right? So work on yourself, set goals, and try to help people if you can, if that's something that you enjoy doing. Some people don't enjoy the field once they get into recovery, and that's okay. I think that everybody's recovery looks different. That's one thing that I try to preach to clients is not everybody's recovery is the same. So like what works for me and what I do, it may not work for the next person, and that's fine. Just do whatever you need to do to get one more day, right? Just get one more hour, sometimes 1 minute if you need to. But yeah, be your biggest cheerleader. And then a question that I get a lot that I just kind of want to address is people ask me like all the time, like, well, is it still hard? You know, like I feel like that's a big piece. Like people ask me like, is it still hard for you? Like, do you still crave drugs? Do you still crave like that lifestyle or anything like that? And it's gonna sound crazy coming out of my mouth, but like I really don't. I don't really have cravings anymore. I feel like I've moved on with my life so far, and I'm so far removed from like that old lifestyle that like that's not an option for me. Like I took that off the table when I decided to turn over this new leaf, right? When I decided to get into recovery, I knew that I was done, right? Like I was never going to turn to substances to try to escape or deal with anything ever again. Like that was not an option for me. If I did that, I 100% knew that it was going to kill me. So I've just kind of reminded myself of that. Do I get passing thoughts of it? Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't erase our memory, right? So like thoughts are still there, but as far as like craving to where like I'm white knuckling, no. I have built a life, like I said, that I don't have to escape from, that I want to be present for. I've built a life where I don't want to be numb to it, you know? Even on those bad days, like, it's not the end of the world, you know? Like, it's not worth throwing all of this away. So I think that that's one of the biggest things. And that's what's helped me, just those goals. And with those goals, you learn to respect yourself as a person. It improves your self-confidence. And yeah. So I appreciate all of the positive feedback that I have gotten. This is definitely not going to be as long as my original story. I like to think my life is pretty boring nowadays, and I'm okay with that. So just keep on fighting, keep on pushing forward. And if you need help, reach out. Like, it's there. There's so many resources nowadays for people, regardless of where you live at, what your insurance is, what kind of problem you need help with. It's there. There are resources. So if you need help, if you need encouragement even, it doesn't have to be help. If you just need encouragement to just kind of get through the day, reach out to somebody. If we could do this in silence and do this by ourselves, then none of this would exist, right? We wouldn't have a field where people are helping. We wouldn't have a channel to try to reach as many people as we can. If we could do it by ourselves, we wouldn't need all of that stuff. So I think that that's important, and that is something to kind of remember. There's help out there. It's just up to you to get that and to reach out. Utilize it. Thanks.